Mom, I just can't do this. The words cut through the house like thunder on a quiet night. Tears streaming, a math problem sitting untouched, and frustration written all over their face. If you've been there, you know. The struggle is real, and so is the love that carries us through it. Welcome to We Are the Hansons. I'm your host, Maya Hanson, and today we're talking about something every parent will face at some point: helping our kids through school struggles, the meltdowns, the breakthroughs, the messy middle, and the joy when it all finally clicks. Before we dive in, I want you to know something. The scene I just painted? That was Tuesday night at our house. My 8-year-old Annalyn staring at long division like it was written in ancient hieroglyphics. And me standing in the doorway feeling like I was failing her because I couldn't magically make it make sense. But here's what I've learned about raising 13 kids through countless homework battles, project meltdowns, and I hate school declarations. Sometimes the most important lessons happen when the textbooks are closed. From our big, beautiful, chaotic family to yours, this is We Are the Hansons, where we get real about raising kids with heart, humor, and a whole lot of grace. Schoolwork doesn't always happen on neat, color-coded schedules. Sometimes it happens after sports practice when everyone's tired. Sometimes it happens in the middle of making dinner with kids crying in the background. In our home, I've seen the tears of frustration, the slammed pencils, and the whispered words, "I'm not smart enough." And in those moments, it's not about homework anymore. It's about heart work. Let me paint you a picture of last month. It's 7 p.m. Dinner dishes are still on the counter because we had to stop everything when 9-year-old Torrin had a complete meltdown over her science project. The volcano she'd been working on for 2 weeks. It didn't erupt the way it was supposed to. She threw her safety goggles across the kitchen and declared that she was the worst scientist in the world. Now, Torrin is the kid who can tell you everything about black holes and wants to be the astronaut. But in that moment, one failed volcano made her question everything about herself. I sat down with her right there in the kitchen where she'd slumped against the cabinet. And I said something that surprised even me. You know what? Maybe it's not supposed to erupt today. She looked at me with those big, confused eyes, and I continued. Real scientists fail all the time. That's how we discover new things. What if this volcano was teaching us something we didn't expect to learn? We ended up spending the next hour not trying to fix the volcano, but documenting what went wrong. We took pictures, wrote observations, even tested the failed mixture, which, by the way, was incredibly salty and made us both laugh until our sides hurt. Her project ended up being about when experiments don't go as planned, a scientific journey. She got an A+, but more importantly, she learned that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. That night taught me something profound. Sometimes our kids aren't struggling with subject matter, they're struggling with perfectionism, with fear, with the pressure of not getting everything right the first time. And that's not a school problem, that's a life skill. We need to help them navigate. Over the years, I've borrowed tools from teachers, counselors, and child development experts and blended them with a little big family chaos. Here's what worked for us. Big projects feel overwhelming, so we slice them into small, doable parts. Just 2 problems, just 1 paragraph. Small wins lead to big confidence. Let me tell you about my daughter Maddie's book report saga. 8th grade, and she had to read and report on a 300-page novel. She took one look at that book and declared it was impossible. Instead of pushing her to power through, we made a deal. 5 pages a day, that's it. We even set a timer, 15 minutes of reading, then a 5-minute break to tell me what happened. By day 3, something magical happened. She wasn't reading past the timer. By week 2, she was taking the book to bed. That impossible book became her favorite story and the report. She wrote 3 pages when she only needed 1. I'll say, it looks like you're frustrated. Naming the emotion helps kids feel understood and less alone. The technique came in handy last winter when my son Gavin was learning to drive. His parallel parking looked like abstract art, and he was getting more upset with each attempt. Instead of saying, just keep trying, or it's not that bad, I said, man, this looks really frustrating. Your brain knows where you want the car to go, but coordinating all these movements at once isn't cooperating yet. He looked at me and said, yes, that's exactly it. Just having his feeling named and validated gave him the emotional space to keep going. We started practicing in empty parking lots, celebrating when he got within 2 feet of the curb instead of expecting perfection. I'm proud of how hard you tried. Goes further than good job. It teaches resilience. This one was hard for me to learn because I'm naturally results oriented. But I started noticing something when I shifted my praise. When I focused on effort, my kids were willing to try harder things, take bigger risks. My youngest, still at home, Annalyn, was terrified of showing her math work. She'd erase and rewrite the same problem 5 times, afraid of making a mistake. So I started praising the process. I love how you're thinking through each step. Or, look how you double-check that answer. That's real mathematician thinking. Now she shows me her work proudly, mistakes and all, because she knows the thinking matters more than perfection. Sometimes the best way through is stepping away. A quick walk, a game of catch, even dancing in the kitchen resets their brain. Science backs this up, by the way. When we're frustrated, our brains literally can't access the problem-solving areas effectively. Movement gets the blood flowing and helps reset our nervous system. We have a family rule now. If someone's been stuck on the same problem for more than 10 minutes, we take a brain break. Sometimes it's jumping jacks by the kitchen counter. Sometimes it's a walk around the block. Last week, it was impromptu dance party to Taylor Swift. Annalyn came back to her fractions after our dance session and solved 3 problems in a row. Movement is medicine for frustrated brains. This one's tough, but it keeps my voice steady. My kids are more likely to settle too. I'll be honest, this is my hardest one. When my kids melting down over homework at 8 p.m. and I still have lunches to pack, laundry to fold, or emails to answer, staying calm feels impossible. But I've learned that my energy is contagious. If I'm frantic, they feel frantic. If I'm calm, they can borrow my calm until they find their own. I have a little trick now. When things start escalating, I take 3 deep breaths out loud so that they can hear me doing it. Then I lower my voice and speak slower. It's amazing how quickly they mirror that energy. Last month, when Torrin was panicking about a test, instead of saying, "You should have studied earlier," or "Just calm down," I said, "Okay, let's breathe together first, then figure out a plan." We breathed, we made a plan. She felt supported instead of judged. And you know what? She passed that test. There are nights it feels like a storm. Voices raising, frustration swirling, and I've wondered, am I helping or making it worse? Let me take you to one of our darkest homework moments. It was a Thursday night in October. My daughter Maddie had a research project due the next day. A project she'd known about for 3 weeks, but somehow forgot until that evening. The whole house was tense. She was crying. I was fighting the urge to lecture her about procrastination. Her younger sister was asking for help with her homework, and we needed to get lunches made. I felt like I was failing everyone. Maddie was learning that mom would always bail her out at the last minute. Her sister was learning that her needs came second to crisis management. I was teaching them that chaos was normal, that planning didn't matter. But what I've learned is this: struggle is part of learning. It's not proof of failure. It's proof that growth is happening. So I stopped right in the middle of the chaos. I stopped trying to fix everything. I sat down at the kitchen table and said, "Maddie, this feels overwhelming for both of us right now. Let's take a breath and figure out what's really important." We looked at what she had to do and broke it into the smallest possible pieces. Not perfect pieces, manageable pieces. She wasn't going to write the best research project in 8th grade history that night, but she was going to turn in something she could be proud of. And more importantly, she was going to learn something about herself in the process. So I sat close, put my hand on her shoulder, and said, "I'm right here. We'll figure this out together." That moment, more than the right answer, is what they'll remember. We stayed up until 10 p.m. that night, past everyone's bedtime. But Maddie learned that even when she messes up, her family doesn't abandon her. She learned that good enough is sometimes exactly enough. And she learned that asking for help isn't failure, it's wisdom. The project wasn't perfect, but it was hers. And she was proud of it. And the next project, she started it the day it was assigned. Sometimes the most important lessons happen in the struggle, not in spite of it. Here's something I wish someone had told me earlier. Every kid learns differently, and that's a bug in the system. It's a feature. With 13 kids, I've seen every learning style imaginable. My older kids, like Logan and Courtney, are visual learners. Show them a diagram, a chart, a color-coded system, and they're golden. But ask them to listen to instruction without seeing them? Forget it. My daughter Torin learns through hands-on. She can't understand fractions until she's physically cutting up pizza or pie. She can't grasp history until she's building a model of a medieval castle with a cardboard box and duct tape. Annalyn, our youngest, needs to talk through everything. She doesn't know what she thinks until she hears herself say it out loud. Homework time with Annalyn sounds like a constant conversation, and that's exactly what she needs. And then there's Maddie, who needs 0 distractions. She does her homework with noise-canceling headphones and emerges an hour later with everything perfectly completed. For years, I've tried to make them all learn the same way, the way I learned, or the way their school taught. But when I started paying attention to how each child's brain worked, everything changed. We created different homework spaces for their needs. The older kids who've moved out learned the system and took them to college and their careers. Maddie has a desk covered with all of her stuff she needs. Torin has a desk where she can spread out and build things. Annalyn, she has her desk, and a lot of times they use the kitchen table. Same family, same support, completely different approaches. And it works because we're not trying to force square pegs into round holes anymore. The breakthrough came when I realized that accommodating their learning style wasn't lowering expectations. It was raising them. When kids can access learning in their own way, they actually achieve more, not less. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, we need to back up. And recognizing when to seek help isn't giving up, it's stepping up. Last year, I noticed that Annalyn was struggling with reading in a way that seemed different from normal learning challenges. She was working twice as hard as her siblings for half the results, and it was breaking her spirit. The teacher kept saying she just needs to try harder or focus more. But I knew Annalyn. This kid could focus on marine biology documentaries for hours straight. Focus wasn't the issue. We had her evaluated for learning differences. Turns out, 1, she had dyslexia, not just a learning disability, a learning difference. Her brain processes text in its own beautiful way. And once we understood that, we could work with it instead of against it. Now she uses some audiobooks while following along in text. She has colored overlays that make words stay still on the page. She dictates some of her writing assignments instead of struggling to get her brilliant ideas down on paper. Her confidence came flooding back when she realized she wasn't broken. She was just different. And different, we learned, can be absolutely wonderful. If your child is consistently struggling despite good support at home, if they're starting to hate learning, if their self-esteem is suffering, don't wait. Talk to their teacher. Talk to the school counselor. Sometimes kids need occupational therapy, speech therapy, or learning specialist. Sometimes they need different teaching methods or accommodations. Getting help isn't admitting defeat. It's advocating for your child. And that's one of the most important things we can teach them. When you need help, you ask for it. And then comes the breakthrough. That first correct answer after a long night the teacher's note saying they're improving. The smile that spreads across their face when they realize they can do it. Those wins, they're worth every tear because they remind our kids and us that the struggle was never wasted. It built character, it built grit, it built connection. 3 weeks ago, Annalyn ran into the house after school with her math test in her hand. Not an A+, a solid B. But the look on her face, pure gold. Mom, I understood every single problem, even the hard ones. She didn't just pass that test, she conquered her own doubt. She proved to herself that her persistence pays off. She learned she could trust her own brain to figure things out. Torrance Volcano Project is still sitting on our kitchen counter 2 months later. Not because we forgot to throw it away, but because she asked us to keep it there. It reminds her, she says, that failing forward is still moving in the right direction. The older kids now help their younger siblings with different learning strategies. They've become our family experts on persistence and creative problem solving. Maddie builds something to help the little ones understand every new concept. Our house looks like a hands-on learning museum, and we love it. Annalyn talks through problems with confidence now, knowing that thinking out loud is her superpower, not her weakness. These victories aren't just about academic achievement, they're about resilience. They're about self-advocacy. They're about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can figure hard things out. So, to every parent out there, knee deep in spelling lists or fractions tonight, remember, you're not just teaching schoolwork, you're teaching perseverance, compassion, and faith in themselves. You're showing them that struggle doesn't mean failure. You're proving that love doesn't depend on grades. You're building humans who know how to ask for help, how to try again, and how to celebrate progress over perfection. Thanks for joining us on this episode of We Are the Hansons. If you've connected with today's story, share it with another parent who might need encouragement. And don't forget, school struggles don't define our kids. How we love them through it does. I'm Maya Hanson, and from our big, beautiful, chaotic family to yours, remember that every struggle is a chance to show up. Every homework battle is an opportunity to build connection, and every small victory is worth celebrating. We'll see you next time right here where real families share real stories.
Mr. Gecko, you're a huge inspiration to us all, but who was your muse?
My dear old Nan. She would tell me, always remember to be true to yourself and to use that fast and friendly claim support on the Geico app. I follow her advice to this day.
Get more than just savings. Get more with Geico.